Commander Jack Wilson stood on the bridge of the Starship Eagle, watching as the stars streaked past the view screen. After 15 years in space, nothing about faster-than-light travel amazed him anymore. What did amaze him was humanity's rapid expansion across the stars. In just 50 years, Earth had established colonies on 12 worlds. "Sir, we're approaching Proxima Centauri," said Lieutenant Susan Miller, her fingers dancing across the navigation console. Wilson nodded. "Take us out of FTL. Standard approach to New Eden colony." The ship shuddered slightly as it dropped to sublight speed. The vast emptiness of space gave way to the beautiful red dwarf star and its orbiting planets. New Eden, humanity's first extrasolar colony, hung like a blue-green jewel among them. "Captain, I'm detecting unusual energy readings," said Officer Ryan Davis, his brow furrowed as he studied his sensor display. "There are ships in orbit around New Eden. They're not ours." Wilson felt his heart skip a beat. "Magnify and put it on screen." The view screen changed to show 5 vessels of unfamiliar design hovering over New Eden. They were sleek, almost organic in appearance, with curved hulls that shimmered with an iridescent glow. "Attempt communication," Wilson ordered. Communications Officer Lisa Grant spoke into her headset. "Unknown vessels, this is Earth Defense Fleet Starship Eagle. Please identify yourselves." Silence filled the bridge as they waited. Wilson felt sweat forming on his palms. "No response, sir," Grant reported. "Try again on all frequencies," Wilson said. Before Grant could comply, Officer Davis shouted, "Energy buildup detected. The alien vessel's air." His words were cut off as the view screen filled with blinding light. When it cleared, Wilson saw energy beams streaking from the alien ships toward the colony below. "They're attacking New Eden," Wilson shouted. "Battle stations, charge weapons." The Eagle's crew rushed to their combat positions as alarms blared throughout the ship. "Sir, we're outgunned 5-1, said First Officer Paul Baker. Wilson gripped the arms of his command chair. "We have to try. Those are our people down there." As the Eagle approached, one of the alien vessels broke formation and turned toward them. Without warning, it fired a beam of energy that struck the Eagle's port side. "Hull breach on decks 3 and 4, reported Engineer Kate Jones. "Shields at 60%. Wilson made a quick decision. "We can't win this fight. Prepare to jump to FTL. We need to warn Earth." "Sir, we can't just leave them," Baker protested. "If we stay, we die. And no one learns what happened here," Wilson replied grimly. "Plot a course to Earth. Maximum speed." As the Eagle turned away, their sensors captured images of destruction on the colony below. Buildings collapsed as the alien weapons tore through them. The ship's computer estimated over 2,000 colonists were already dead. Just before they jumped to FTL, the Eagle's sensors detected a transmission between the alien vessels. The computer automatically recorded and began translating it. "The human infestation on this world has been cleansed." The translation read, "The Crixian Dominion will proceed to the next target as instructed by the Coalition." The Eagle escaped into FTL speed as another energy beam nearly struck their engines. 3 days later, a damaged Eagle limped into Earth orbit. Commander Wilson, his uniform still stained with blood from injured crew members he had helped treat, stood before the United Earth Defense Council. They called themselves the Crixian Dominion, acting on behalf of something called the Coalition, Wilson reported. They destroyed New Eden without warning or provocation. Based on the transmissions we intercepted, they planned to attack other human colonies. The council members looked at each other in shock and fear. "This wasn't a misunderstanding," Wilson continued. "This was the beginning of a war. And we didn't even know we had enemies out there." The Grand Hall of the United Earth Defense Council fell silent as the holographic projection flickered to life. 3 alien beings appeared before them, one tall and insect-like, with compound eyes, another squat with mottled blue skin, and the third a floating cloud of luminescent particles contained within a transparent shell. "We speak for the Galactic Coalition," said the insect-like being. its mandibles clicking as the translation software converted its speech. "I am Ambassador Stichill of the Crixian Dominion." Commander Wilson stood at attention beside Council President Frank Allen, who stepped forward. "Why have you attacked our colony? We've made no aggressive moves against any species." The blue-skinned alien gurgled before speaking. "Your very existence is aggression. We have observed your species for decades. Humans spread like a virus, adapting to environments that should kill you, altering worlds to suit your needs with no regard for natural order. We've terraformed only uninhabited worlds," President Allen argued. The cloud of particles pulsed with light. "Your definition of uninhabited ignores microscopic life and ecological systems that took billions of years to develop. But that is not our primary concern." Ambassador Stichill raised a segmented limb. "In just 50 of your Earth years, you have spread to 12 worlds. Our predictive models show that without intervention, humans would colonize over 200 worlds within the next century. No species in the Coalition's 10,000-year history has expanded so rapidly." The blue alien added, "We have monitored your entertainment broadcasts. Your fiction obsesses over conquering superior forces against impossible odds. Your history celebrates those who fought when surrender was the logical choice." President Allen shook his head. "That shows our determination, not aggression. It shows dangerous unpredictability." Stichill clicked. "The Coalition maintains stability through controlled growth and shared resources. Your species refuses to accept limitations." The particle being pulsed again. "Therefore, we present our terms. Humanity will restrict itself to the Sol system only. All extrasolar colonies will be evacuated immediately. Any human ship detected beyond Pluto's orbit will be destroyed without warning." Gasps and angry murmurs filled the council chamber. Wilson felt his fists clench at his sides. "And if we refuse?" President Allen asked, his voice steady despite the outrageous demand. "Then what happened at New Eden will seem merciful," Stichill replied. "We have disabled your observation satellites around other colonies. You have 30 Earth days to comply." The hologram vanished, leaving the council in uproar. Hours later, in a secure underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, a smaller group gathered. Wilson sat beside President Allen, along with top military officials and scientists. "We can't possibly evacuate all colonies in 30 days, said General Diane Foster. "And restricting humanity to one system is a death sentence long term." Dr. Olivia Martinez, Earth's leading xenobiologist, cleared her throat. "There's something else to consider. I've been analyzing the biological data we have on the Crixian representative. Their physiology suggests extreme environmental specialization." "Meaning what?" Wilson asked. "Meaning they evolved in very stable conditions," Martinez explained. "All 3 Coalition representatives showed signs of highly specialized biology. I believe they fear us because we're different. Humans evolved on a planet with wildly varying conditions, ice ages, warming periods, shifting continents. We're adaptable at a fundamental level." President Allen frowned. "How does that help us now? Their technology is clearly superior." Martinez tapped on her tablet, bringing up human genetic sequences on the wall screen. "I've been studying extreme human adaptations, populations that live at high altitudes, in extreme cold, in deserts. There's something unique in our cellular regeneration patterns that I've never seen in any alien species we've encountered." Wilson leaned forward. "Are you saying we have a biological advantage?" "Potentially," Martinez nodded. "If my theory is correct, the Coalition species may be technologically advanced, but biologically inflexible. They can't survive environmental changes the way humans can." President Allen's eyes narrowed. "Then perhaps instead of fighting their superior weapons, we should make them fight our superior adaptability." Wilson finished. Dr. Olivia Martinez's laboratory buzzed with activity as she displayed her findings to the Emergency Council. 3-dimensional projections of human and alien DNA floated in the air, rotating slowly for all to see. "Look here," she said, pointing to a specific section of human DNA. This sequence allows our cells to repair damage from radiation, extreme temperatures, and toxins in ways the coalition species simply cannot. Commander Wilson leaned closer to the display. "You're sure about this?" Martinez nodded confidently. "Absolutely. I've analyzed samples from all 3 coalition representatives. Their DNA is remarkably stable, perfect for their home environments, but almost completely inflexible." President Allen studied the projections. "Explain it to me in simple terms, Doctor." "Humans are like Swiss Army knives, adaptable to many situations. The coalition species are like specialized tools, perfect for one job but useless for others." Martinez switched the display to show a comparison of lung tissues. Take the Crixian ambassador. Its respiratory system works perfectly in its home atmosphere, but even small changes in oxygen levels would cause respiratory failure. General Foster frowned. "So they're delicate. That doesn't help us when they're shooting at us from space." Martinez smiled. "It helps us more than you think. The coalition has evolved to control their environments rather than adapt to them. Their ships, their colonies, their entire civilization depends on maintaining very specific conditions." A scientist named Dr. Alan Garcia stepped forward. "We've analyzed the scan data from the Eagle. Their ships generate internal environments specific to each species. It's incredibly energy-intensive." Wilson's eyes widened as he understood. "Which means they can only operate in certain environments." "Exactly," Martinez confirmed. "Humans can acclimate to high gravity, low oxygen, extreme temperatures, radiation, conditions that would kill coalition species instantly. There are planets in our expansion path they couldn't even orbit safely, let alone land on." President Allen paced the room. "This is why they fear us. We can live places they can't even visit." "Yes," Martinez said, "and I believe we can enhance these natural abilities even further. My team has been working on cellular regeneration therapies that could potentially allow humans to survive in even more extreme environments." Wilson felt hope rising for the first time since the attack. "So we have 30 days before they attack again. What do you propose?" Martinez gestured to her team. "Project Phoenix. We use our remaining ships to evacuate key personnel and resources to the most inhospitable planets in nearby systems, places the coalition would never think to look because they're uninhabitable by their standards." Dr. Garcia nodded. "We've identified several candidates: gas giant moons with toxic atmospheres, planets with extreme radiation or gravity, asteroid belts with no atmosphere at all." "We'll need time," Martinez continued. "Time to adapt, to build, to prepare. But if we can establish hidden colonies and environments the coalition can't survive, we create safe havens they can't touch." General Foster looked skeptical. "And how do we fight back from these toxic hellholes?" "We don't," Wilson said, understanding the plan. "Not at first. We survive. We adapt. We evolve our technology to work in these extreme environments. Eventually, we'll have bases and resources in places they can't even approach." President Allen stopped pacing. A long-term strategy for human survival. It could work. He turned to General Foster. "How quickly can we prepare evacuation ships?" "Given our limited resources after losing the colonial fleet, 2 weeks at most," Foster replied. "Then we need to move quickly," President Allen said. "Dr. Martinez, you'll lead the scientific aspects of Project Phoenix. Commander Wilson, I'm promoting you to Admiral. You'll command our survival fleet." Wilson stood straighter. "The coalition thinks they can extinguish humanity by boxing us into one system. They don't realize that pressure doesn't crush us. It forces us to evolve." Martinez smiled grimly. "They're about to learn why humans have survived every disaster our planet has thrown at us for hundreds of thousands of years." The room fell silent as the weight of their task settled on everyone's shoulders. Humanity's survival would depend not on winning a war, but on their unique ability to thrive where nothing should survive. The stealth ship Sparrow slipped silently through space, its experimental cloaking system masking its heat signature and radar profile. Admiral Wilson stood on the bridge, watching as the last of Earth's colony ships appeared to head toward home. Coalition forces are accepting the surrender broadcast, reported Officer Lisa Grant from her communication station. Their ships are escorting our evacuation vessels back toward Seoul. Wilson nodded grimly. To all outside observers, humanity was retreating, giving up its hard-won colonies and accepting confinement to a single system. The public broadcast showed President Allen signing the coalition's terms with appropriate solemnity. What the coalition didn't know was that for every visible evacuation ship, 3 cloaked vessels like the Sparrow were heading in the opposite direction, loaded with scientists, engineers, soldiers, and families willing to risk everything. "Status report on the Phoenix fleet," Wilson ordered. His first officer, Commander Nicole Young, brought up a secure display. All 17 ships reporting in. Phoenix 1 through 5 are headed to the Epsilon Eridani system, Phoenix 6 through 10 to Ta Ceti, and Phoenix 11 through 15 to Barnard Star. And us. Sparrow remains on course to Wolf 359, specifically the third moon of the gas giant. Surface temperature -200 degrees, atmosphere mostly methane and ammonia. As Dr. Martinez predicted, coalition sensors show it as incompatible with carbon-based life. Wilson smiled. That was exactly why they had chosen it. Time to destination. 3 days at current speed. Sir. The bridge fell silent as everyone returned to their duties. They all knew what was at stake. If any of their ships were detected, the coalition would realize humanity wasn't surrendering at all. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Olivia Martinez watched coalition officials inspect the planet's defense systems. Earth had apparently disarmed as required, decommissioning its orbital platforms and planetary shields. "Your compliance is noted," said the Crixian inspector, its mandibles clicking. "The Coalition Council will be pleased." Martinez forced a smile. "We simply want peace." What the inspector couldn't see was the underground facility beneath their feet, where researchers continued working on the biological adaptations that might save humanity. The Coalition had no interest in Earth's medicine or biology, considering them primitive compared to their own technology. That arrogance was humanity's advantage. Later that night, in her secure lab 500 meters below ground, Martinez reviewed data from the Phoenix ships already nearing their destinations. "How are the first adaptation trials progressing?" she asked Dr. Garcia. He displayed the results on a screen. "Better than expected. The enhanced cellular regeneration is allowing test subjects to withstand radiation at 4 times normal human tolerance. The lung modifications are enabling oxygen extraction from atmospheres with only 7% oxygen content." Martinez nodded. "And the pressure adaptations? Still problematic. We can get humans to withstand up to 3 times Earth normal gravity for short periods, but long-term exposure causes cardiovascular issues. Keep working on it. The Wolf 359 team will need those adaptations to survive." A week later, Admiral Wilson stood on the frozen surface of their target moon, his specially designed suit protecting him from the killing cold. Through his helmet, he watched as engineers assembled the prefabricated habitat structures that would house the first 2,000 colonists. "Atmosphere processors are online," reported engineer Kate Jones through the comm system. "We'll have a breathable bubble within 72 hours. The icy landscape stretched around them, illuminated by the massive gas giant hanging in the sky. No coalition species could survive here for even minutes without complete environmental suits far more complex than what the humans wore." "Any sign of coalition monitoring?" Wilson asked. "None, sir. Their nearest outpost is 2 systems away. This moon doesn't even appear in their navigational databases except as a hazard to avoid." Wilson smiled behind his faceplate. The irony wasn't lost on him. The coalition had ordered humanity to retreat because they feared human expansion. Instead, they had forced humanity to advance faster, to adapt more quickly, to become even more formidable. On 15 worlds deemed impossible for life, humanity was taking root, not as conquerors, but as survivors. And the Coalition had no idea what was coming. 10 years passed since Project Phoenix began. On Wolf 359's third moon, now called Haven, Admiral Wilson walked through a thriving underground city without a protective suit. The air was still cold by Earth standards, but the humans living here had adapted. Their skin had a slightly bluish tint, and their bodies ran naturally warmer. "Hard to believe this was a frozen wasteland when we arrived," said Commander Young, now Governor Young of Haven Colony. Wilson nodded. 20,000 people living where the Coalition believes nothing could survive. They entered a large chamber where children played. These children had been born on Haven, never knowing Earth. Many had the characteristic blue-tinted skin that came from Dr. Martinez's adaptation treatments. Some had eyes that could see in the dimmer light of their distant sun. "The new agricultural domes are producing enough food for the entire colony now," Young reported. "And the mineral extraction from the moon's core has given us enough raw materials to build 3 new manufacturing centers." "What about the communication network?" Wilson asked. "Complete. We can now send secure transmissions to all 14 other Phoenix colonies without detection." Wilson smiled. 14 successful colonies, each on worlds the Coalition had dismissed as uninhabitable, each developing in different ways to match their environments. On Epsilon Eridani's heavy gravity world, humans now moved with ease under forces that would crush any Coalition species. Their bones had been reinforced, their muscles enhanced, their hearts strengthened. In the radiation-soaked asteroid belt of Tau Ceti, colonists had developed cells that repaired radiation damage almost instantly. They worked in environments that would kill unmodified humans within minutes. On a toxic gas planet in Barnard's star system, humans breathed atmosphere that would be poison to Coalition species, their modified lungs filtering out harmful elements while extracting oxygen from sources no other species could process. Dr. Martinez had kept her promise. Humanity hadn't just survived, it had thrived by embracing environments no other intelligent species would consider. "Any Coalition activity in this sector?" Wilson asked as they entered the command center. Their patrol ships passed through the system twice a year, but they never approached the moon. Their scans show it as uninhabitable, and they move on. Young pulled up a holographic display showing Coalition patrol routes. "They've reduced their presence in this entire sector by 60% in the last 3 years. They think they've won," Wilson said. "They believe humanity is safely contained in the Sol system." A communications officer approached. "Admiral, we have a transmission from Dr. Martinez on Earth." Wilson nodded, and the main screen displayed Martinez's face. 10 years had added lines to her features, but her eyes were as sharp as ever. "Admiral, we've completed the final phase of adaptation research," she reported. "The new gene therapies can now be manufactured without specialized equipment. We can adapt humans to virtually any environment within a single generation." Wilson felt his pulse quicken. "And Coalition monitoring?" "They've become complacent. Their inspections are now just once a year, focused only on our space capabilities. They pay no attention to our biological research." "And the Earth population?" "Officially cooperating while secretly preparing. 90% of children born in the last 5 years have received the basic adaptation packages. Earth hasn't surrendered. It's been incubating." Wilson exchanged glances with Young. "Then we're ready for the next phase." Martinez nodded. "President Allen believes so. The Coalition thinks they're watching a caged animal. They don't realize they've been watching a chrysalis." That night, Wilson stood at a viewport, looking up at the gas giant that dominated Haven's sky. 10 years ago, the Coalition had threatened to extinguish humanity like a flame. Instead, they had forced that flame to burn in places they couldn't reach, growing stronger, more resilient. On 15 worlds deemed impossible for life, Humans had created civilizations unlike anything the Coalition's experience. They had developed technologies designed to work in extreme environments, technologies that operated on principles the Coalition had never explored. The time for hiding was coming to an end. Soon, humanity would reveal what it had become, and the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Wilson stood on the bridge of the Sparrow, which had been significantly upgraded over the past 20 years. What had once been a small stealth vessel was now the flagship of humanity's hidden fleet. The ship hovered just outside the designated boundary of Sol space, the line humanity had supposedly not crossed in 2 decades. "All Phoenix colonies reporting ready, sir," said Commander Bennett, Wilson's new first officer. "Operation Revelation is green across the board." Wilson took a deep breath. 20 years of preparation, adaptation, and secret development had led to this moment. "Signal Earth that we're proceeding." On thousands of Coalition worlds across the galaxy, regular broadcasts suddenly interrupted. The screens that normally showed entertainment or news now displayed a single human figure, Admiral Jack Wilson. "Attention, citizens and leaders of the Galactic Coalition," Wilson began. 20 years ago, you ordered humanity to remain confined to our home system. You believed you had contained us, prevented our expansion, and eliminated our threat to your established order. In the Coalition's Central Council chamber on their capital world, the representatives of 50 species watched in confusion and growing alarm. "We complied with your demands in the manner that has defined humanity throughout our history," Wilson continued. "When faced with an obstacle, we adapted." The broadcast split to show multiple screens. Each displayed human colonies, thriving cities inside massive domes on toxic worlds, underwater habitats on frozen ocean moons, settlements inside the swirling clouds of gas giants, and orbital stations circling stars that emitted lethal radiation. "These are live feeds from human settlements established over the past 20 years, Wilson explained. "Each exists in an environment your species deemed uninhabitable. Each represents humanity's response to your ultimatum." On Earth, Dr. Olivia Martinez and President Allen watched the broadcast from the presidential office. Coalition inspectors stood nearby, mandibles clicking in agitation as they realized the magnitude of the deception. "We did not defy your order by fighting," Wilson continued. "We simply went where you could not follow. We adapted our bodies and our technology to thrive in environments that would kill any Coalition species within minutes." The broadcast showed humans walking unprotected on worlds with crushing gravity, breathing toxic atmospheres, and working in radiation levels that should have been instantly fatal. "Humanity has established 15 major colonies and over 40 smaller outposts, all in systems you considered worthless. We have developed technologies specifically designed to work in extreme environments. We have modified ourselves to survive where no intelligent life has existed before." In a dramatic demonstration, the camera panned to show Wilson giving a signal. A nearby planet, a small rocky world with a methane atmosphere, began to change visibly. Green patches spread across its surface as specially engineered plants began rapidly converting the atmosphere. "This is Terraform Station 1, Wilson explained. "Using technology developed on our extreme worlds, we can now transform planets to suit human life in months rather than centuries. What you are witnessing is not computer simulation, but a live feed of actual atmospheric conversion." The Coalition Council chamber erupted in chaos as representatives realized the implications. The humans had not only escaped containment but had developed abilities far beyond what had been predicted. "We are not broadcasting this message as a declaration of war," Wilson continued as the council fell silent again. "We are simply informing you that your attempt to contain humanity has failed, not because we fought you, but because you fundamentally misunderstood what we are." Wilson's expression remained calm but firm. "A delegation of adapted humans will arrive at Coalition headquarters within 6 hours to negotiate new terms of coexistence. Unlike your representatives, our delegation can survive in any environmental condition on your world without special accommodation." The Crixian Supreme Leader clicked its mandibles in agitation. "This is impossible. No species could adapt so quickly. To demonstrate our commitment to peaceful coexistence, Wilson continued, we will share some of our adaptive technologies with coalition species. We understand better than anyone the importance of being able to survive changing conditions. Wilson's final words echoed across the galaxy. 20 years ago, you tried to extinguish humanity like a flame. Today, you learn why we call ourselves the Immortal Flame. We do not conquer. We adapt. We survive. And now, we return to the galactic community, not as supplicants, but as equals. The grand hall of the Coalition headquarters hummed with tense energy as representatives from 50 alien species gathered. At the center of the chamber stood a circular table where the Coalition's Leadership Council sat facing the human delegation. Admiral Wilson led the human representatives. Beside him stood Dr. Olivia Martinez, now in her 60s but still sharp-eyed and determined. 3 other humans completed their delegation, each modified for different extreme environments. One had the blue-tinted skin of Haven, another the dense musculature of a heavy-gravity world, and the third the distinctive silver eyes that could see radiation spectrums. The human delegation may approach, announced the Crixian Supreme Leader, its mandibles moving stiffly. As Wilson and his team walked forward, many Coalition representatives shifted uncomfortably. The humans wore no protective gear despite the atmosphere being calibrated for Crixian comfort, too hot and oxygen poor for normal humans. You appear distressed by our presence, Wilson noted calmly, not even breathing hard in the thin air. Your biological adaptations are unexpected, replied the floating luminescent being that Wilson recognized from 20 years earlier. Our scientists claimed such modifications were impossible within a single generation. Dr. Martinez smiled. Your scientists were correct, based on their understanding of biology. But humanity's genetic structure has always contained unique flexibility. We simply unlocked what was already there. The blue-skinned Coalition representative leaned forward. Your demonstration of terraforming technology is concerning. You can fundamentally alter planets to suit your needs. Yes, Wilson acknowledged. But we've also developed the ability to thrive without terraforming. We can adapt ourselves instead of changing entire worlds. A new representative, a crystalline being Wilson didn't recognize, spoke. The Coalition Council has reviewed your colony's locations. You have established presence in systems we cannot safely access. Systems you considered worthless, corrected Martinez. We found value where you saw only hostile environments. The Crixian Supreme Leader clicked its mandibles. What are your demands? Wilson placed a data crystal on the table. Not demands. Proposals for coexistence. First, recognition of all current human colonies and outposts as sovereign territory. Second, freedom to continue exploration and settlement of extreme environment worlds not claimed by Coalition species. Third, exchange of adaptive technologies that could benefit all species. You would share your biological advancements, asked the luminescent being, sounding surprised. Selected technologies, yes, Martins replied. We believe all intelligent life should have tools to survive changing conditions. The galaxy itself is not static. Stars die, radiation levels shift, atmospheres change. Adaptation is not just humanity's story, it's the story of all successful life. The Coalition representatives withdrew to discuss among themselves. When they returned, the Crixian Supreme Leader seemed resigned. We have determined that attempting to contain humanity further would be futile. Your species has demonstrated remarkable resilience. The Coalition accepts your terms with one condition. Human expansion must remain limited to extreme environment worlds for the next 50 years. Wilson considered this acceptable, provided Coalition species respect the boundaries of human territory. Then we have agreement, the Crixian stated. Humanity will be officially classified in Coalition records as an extreme adaptation species with special dispensation for settlement of hostile worlds. Martinez leaned toward Wilson. They're trying to save face by making it seem like they're still setting the terms. Wilson nodded slightly. Let them have their pride. The Crixian continued, "Your species will be designated in our records as the Immortal Flame, a reference to your own transmission title." Wilson stood. "The name is fitting. We've learned that pressure doesn't extinguish us. It makes us burn brighter." After the formal agreement was signed, Wilson walked with Martinez through the Coalition station back to their ship. 20 years of hiding, adapting, and preparing, Martinez said quietly. Was it worth it? Wilson looked out a viewport at the stars. We could have fought them and possibly been destroyed. Instead, we found another way. Now humanity has worlds the Coalition will never try to take from us because they can't survive there. We've carved out a place in the galaxy that's uniquely ours. As their ship departed for Earth, Wilson recorded his final message as commander of Project Phoenix. 50 years had passed since the treaty with the Coalition. Admiral Wilson, now 97 years old, stood on the observation deck of humanity's new diplomatic station, orbiting a neutral star system. Despite his age, he stood straight, his body strengthened by the adaptive technologies that had saved humanity. "Admiral, they're arriving," said Major Ellie Wright, his aide. Wilson nodded, watching as the Coalition delegation's ships approached. Unlike 50 years ago, this meeting wasn't about survival or restraint. Today marked the formal end of the expansion restrictions placed on humanity. "Hard to believe it's been half a century," Wilson said quietly. Dr. Olivia Martinez joined him at the viewport. At 102, she remained sharp and active, her cellular regeneration treatments having extended her life well beyond what humans of previous generations could expect. 50 years during which we've grown stronger than we ever imagined, Martinez replied. 378 human worlds now, each with their own adaptations. The observation deck filled with representatives from dozens of human colonies. Some had skin that reflected radiation. Others had eyes adapted to see in almost complete darkness. The diversity of human adaptation was on full display. The Coalition delegation entered, led by a new Crixian supreme leader. Unlike the fearful and hostile representatives of the past, this one approached with respectful caution. "On behalf of the Galactic Coalition, I greet the representatives of humanity," the Crixian announced. "Today marks the fulfillment of our treaty terms and the beginning of a new chapter in our shared history." Wilson stepped forward. "The Immortal Flame welcomes the Coalition. We have prepared a demonstration of what humanity has accomplished during these 50 years of restricted expansion." At Wilson's signal, a large holographic display activated, showing hundreds of worlds spread across the galaxy map. Each glowed with a different color, representing the specific environmental challenges humans had overcome to settle there. "These are all current human settlements," Wilson explained. "From methane atmosphere worlds to the hearts of asteroid belts, from the moons of gas giants to the edges of black holes. Environments once considered impossible for life now host thriving human cities." The Coalition representatives studied the display with evident amazement. "But our greatest achievement isn't just survival," Martinez added. "It's what we've learned about life itself." The display shifted to show the biological achievements of the past 50 years. Martinez gestured to the images of cellular structures and DNA sequences. "We've discovered that adaptation isn't unique to humans. All life has potential flexibility encoded in its genetic structure. We've developed methods to help other species unlock similar abilities." A member of the Coalition, a crystalline being from a silicon-based species, stepped forward. "My people were facing extinction as our homeworld's core began cooling. The adaptation techniques shared by humans have allowed us to survive temperature ranges we never thought possible." Similar stories came from other Coalition representatives, species that had benefited from humanity's research into extreme adaptation. The Crixian Supreme Leader made a formal gesture of respect. "When we first encountered humans, we saw only the threat of uncontrolled expansion. We failed to recognize that your adaptability wasn't just physical, but extended to your thinking and your societies." Wilson smiled. "We've learned from you as well. Your caution about environmental change and respect for existing ecosystems has tempered our expansion. We no longer terraform worlds with native life, instead adapting ourselves to coexist. The formal announcement came as no surprise. All restrictions on human expansion were officially lifted. Humanity was now recognized as a full and equal member of the Galactic Coalition. As the ceremony concluded, Wilson stood with Martinez at the viewport, watching stars that now represented possibilities rather than boundaries. We came so close to war, Wilson reflected. They nearly extinguished us before we understood our own potential. Martinez nodded. Instead, they forced us to discover our true strength. Not conquest, not technology, but adaptation. Outside the viewport, ships from 100 species moved through space, some designed for environments no single species could survive unprotected. Humanity had changed the galaxy not through force but by showing all species a new path forward, one where life could find ways to thrive anywhere. The immortal flame that the Coalition had once tried to contain now illuminated the way for all.